Ray, if you want to come around over here.
Yeah, that
and
might
then we
be
can talk
better.
to
Yep.
these guys.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, so whenever anyone wants to
I
make a
have-
motion.
I have a small amendment
What you got?
on the fire departments. It should be fire department requests were reviewed.
Oh, fire department requests.
Were reviewed, so take out the end.
I already got the other one here. Let's see, we'll go with that. See, give me a second. 26th, okay. Fire department requests were reviewed. What are you recommending?
It says fire department
Were-
were and reviewed. It should say fire department requests were reviewed.
Okay, thank you.
Similar to highway, the paragraph above.
Yeah, they were kind of all similar. We reviewed them all. Requests, thank you.
Just
Yeah,
in that order.
exactly.
Okay. Very good.
I'll make the motion to approve as amended.
Is there a second?
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, Richi Hacker, aye, say your name,
Oh.
because we're on.
Oh, okay. Ray Capaco, aye.
Don Smith, aye.
Dan, are you in yet?
No.
Yeah, he's not official yet.
Oh, you're
Karen's
waiting.
gonna try getting hold of him again.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, motion passes. And we're on to the fire chief. Adam, you're up. Or do we have questions? Do we want to like,
Didn't really specify what, I think.
No.
I'm just assuming that maybe I was reviewing things, or?
yeah, you want to go through each of these?
Sure.
So, hose and appliance replacement?
Yeah, so, I guess I'll start with, good news. You know, when we last had capital planning back in 2019, I believe, was the last time that we had an active capital planning board. Since that time, we had many projects on that list, and as here with the funding that came from Engine One's replacement, that we're working on that replacement now with the last funding, all of those projects have been wiped off the list. So every project that you see on here are new projects, so none of them, all of the existing ones, which happened over a period of about eight to 10 years, were actually funded and taken care of eventually over a lot of work from the capital planning and selectmen and the town and everything, so we really do appreciate that. There's a few projects that, you know, we're taking a look at now. We have been walking through them. The first one is the hose and appliance replacement. So basically, each fire apparatus, especially the main three engines that we have at least a minimum of 1,000 feet or more of what we call large diameter hose, or LDH. There's 4-inch hose that's commonly used for supply. This is the stuff you'd see hooked to the fire hydrants to get as much water flow to the engines as possible. Some of them carry, we have one truck that carries 1,700 feet, we have one truck that carries 1,500 feet, we have one truck that carries about 1,200 feet. It all depends on what we can fit on the truck for, you know, what it's rated for weight and stuff. The trucks carry a minimum, the engines carry anywhere from 750 gallons of water all the way up until 2,500 gallons of water. So each truck is inherently different, and each truck has a different hose setup, but they generally share similar attributes in terms of the diameters of the hose, what they're used for. So this project here, each year we're required to get our hose tested and our appliance tested, and what happens is the company comes in and they recertify everything, make sure it's working correctly, and making sure that, you know, that there's no pinholes, there's no leaks of any kind. And what has started to happen is that we're seeing some of these things start to fail. We're losing several lengths of hose each year, and they're at pretty much the 20-year mark or more on most of this hose. And at this point, we just feel like replacing it is probably our best option, because I think this is gonna continue to happen. So, some of this stuff was donated from, some departments in Connecticut, in, Holland and Wales, when they got a grant to replace to 5-inch hose instead of 4-inch hose. So some of it wasn't even ours to begin with, but this would encompass a $110,000 project that will allow us to, replace all of the hose, all the appliances at one time. Right now, I do have a grant out for this that I just wrote through the Assistance to Firefighters program. This is the same grant process that we just got our engine 4 from. So we're hoping that we may, end up with a grant on this. That would be great if they funded the whole thing, but this is kind of a priority right now because of the age of the hose. But this project will allow us to replace everything that's currently on the trucks, as well as the spare stuff.
When would you hear about the grant?
More than likely, it's gonna be several months. These are becoming much more competitive grants. So this is something we certainly don't wanna, put all our eggs in a basket on, but I would think that we would hear something within about 3 months or so, since we've just put it
So
in.
not in time for.
Not in
town
time
meeting.
for June, possibly, more towards the special town meeting or something like
Okay.
that in November. We may have an answer then, but definitely not, I wouldn't, it could be, and I will certainly keep the board posted and keep Jim posted, but I'm not so sure it'll be awarded by, early enough for the town meeting, for this
But
annual town.
you can wait till the STM.
Yes, we could definitely wait for that. We currently have hose testing scheduled for May, so we're probably gonna lose some more. I imagine another few lengths here may fail, because it's put under tremendous pressure. That's the whole purpose of it, to make sure that there's no weak points in it. Yes, I would say it would certainly wait until at least the special town meeting.
Okay.
And the grant on that, Adam, is that for you going for the full amount, or you won't find out
Full
the
amount. That would be like, if we were to get that grant, it would replace everything. So it would take this project completely off of the capital plan if we were to get it, yes. That's correct. The second one would be our engine number 2 replacement. Engine number 2, we have a couple of trucks. The one that we just replaced, engine number 1, that was in 1997. This truck is a 2001, so it's relatively in the same wheelhouse in terms of age. So it puts it at getting close to that 25-year mark, and they really, fire engines historically, once they hit that 20 to 25-year mark, it's just a matter of time before things start happening, and that's what we're seeing. With this particular piece of apparatus, we're seeing things starting to rust, and we're having more repairs on it. I've probably had more problems with that. It's still a very reliable piece, but I've definitely seen in addition to the amount of issues that we're starting to have with this truck. So it's starting to age. This was a custom-built fire engine for the town of Warren. Probably its only real custom-built piece of apparatus. It served us very well. I believe it will continue to serve for some time with some continued maintenance, but I believe that we need to remove it from the front line. What I'd like to do with this particular truck is put it towards a reserve engine, to get back to the number of engines that we used to have and keep it out as a secondary. As you folks know, we've had a couple instances where we've had to borrow engines from other communities while one of ours has been out. So this would stop that from happening. We can kind of put this down at Station B. If one of our frontline apparatus goes out of service for any reason, we can bring it up and have it as replacement for a month, 2 months, whatever we have to do with it. Do minimum maintenance to it, obviously maintenance it to make sure it's safe and stuff, but it's no longer a frontline piece rolling out all the time. So, and then once our engine number 3 comes up, that one can go back into the reserve. So that would be the key, is to get back to the amount of engines that we once had, because that's how we functioned best with. There was always a piece of, in reserve for that exact reason. We lost 2 engines at one time back in about 2010, and we only replaced it with 1. So that's kind of how that happened and how we fell behind there. But unfortunately, engines today, they're very expensive. You're talking about anywhere from $800,000 to $850,000 as compared to even $550,000 just 5-6 years ago. So they're very, very expensive. They're very technical, a lot of electronics on them, but you're gonna get a 25-year life out of them, as long as they're maintenance appropriately and you don't have any major, rust or warranty issues or frame issues or anything like that. But generally speaking, our trucks are maintenance very well. They go through all their preventative maintenance every year. They go through all the pump testing, ladder testing, hose testing, all the stuff that they're supposed to go through. We keep them on the road as best we can. So that would be a full replacement on our engine number 2.
And you said possible grant.
Yes, however, we got the one, engine number 4, we got half of that truck came off of a grant. However, those grants, especially for vehicles, are very, very competitive. And what I mean by that is we were one of 100 departments across the country that got a grant last time around.
Wow.
So I would not count on a vehicle grant for this vehicle. That is just something that was really a fluke. That was the 4th time I put in for that grant for that truck. And we got it the 4th time, and the only reason we got it, I firmly believe, is because I told them the last time we took it out of service, because it was junk at that point. So they gave us the grant that last time around, but it took 4 rounds, 4 years, and it was only a $140,000 truck, not a $850,000 truck. So is it possible? Yes, but it's unlikely.
Do you think this truck would last 5 years, the way you plan to
I
baby it?
think so. I think it would last, if we planned for, what we did with engine 1, where we did, a certain amount every year to get there.
That's
I
what
think
we're
we could do
thinking.
it,
Yeah.
and then put it in a reserve capacity after that, as long as it doesn't have any major frame problems. So yes, I do think that we could work on that over the next several years.
So, like about 175 or 200 per year?
Yep.
Until we get there?
Yeah, I think we could,
Okay.
as long as we were making that forward progress, yes. I mean, obviously, the larger lump sums are always better, and the only thing I will say about that is that, and Jeremy can attest to this, I'm sure, that the chassis price
Yeah,
and
it's-
the overall
yeah.
cost price is increasing anywhere like, 15% a year to get the same vehicle the next
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
So it's just, the quicker you can do it, the more money you're gonna save the town when it comes to a big piece of equipment like
Okay.
a fire truck or a large dump vehicle or something like that, because again, the prices are just astronomical at this juncture.
Yeah, okay.
The next one is hydraulic extrication equipment, and I understand, I think we talked a little bit about it last time I was here, and some of the lower hanging fruit tends to be easier to pick off, and I get the smaller projects are easier to do, and these are one of those types of projects where you're talking, 65,000 as opposed to 850,000. So right now, when I say hydraulic extrication equipment, I'm referring to basically the jaws of life. All right, that's what that means. It's the stuff that we use to cut vehicles apart and stuff. God forbid somebody gets in an accident, needs to be extricated from a vehicle. These are very technical pieces of equipment. They're very rough and tough. Currently, right now, all of our stuff is what we refer to as corded, meaning that it's attached to a power unit using hydraulic fluid to be able to power the equipment. That is really no longer the standard in the industry. The standard in the industry is battery-powered tools. So that is where everything is gone. We currently have one tool that's what's referred to as a combination tool, which can be a cutter and a spreader. We can cut a roof, we can spread a door apart, we can use it for multiple things. This is the one that we got off the grant, the selectmen approved, and we were able to put some ARPA money for it. We had bought that one piece of equipment. So that's the only battery-powered tool we have. The rest of it is all hydraulic. And the problem with the hydraulic is that it's aging, number one. And the other problem is there's several failure points. The power unit could not start, the hydraulic hose could leak and cause the tool not to operate, or the tool itself could have a malfunction and not operate. So when you go in and you're switching over to the battery tools, you're taking a lot of those points of failure out of the equation. It's one tool, it's one battery, it works. It even works in water. There's a lot of these tools have come a long way. So the 65,000 would allow us to basically take all of the hydraulic stuff off of our engine 2, which is our rescue, the same truck we were just talking about, and replace it with new battery-powered tools, the same as the one that we have currently, that one tool. We can put that hydraulic stuff in reserve if we need to use it in case one of the battery tools has a problem, we need to bring it back out. That's fine, but it would upgrade us to the state-of-the-art battery equipment, which is what all departments are striving to get right now.
So I think there was some concern that we were talking about, just about, having low batteries failing.
So,
you
yeah,
know.
that's not a trend that we've seen. That's not
Okay.
I understand there's a lot of concern for batteries out there, and
Yeah.
that is certainly a case. I mean, cars, battery cars have become some of an issue in some ways, people's charging units and stuff, but 95% of the time, when you see a battery failure or a battery issue in general, it's usually because they've used some aftermarket components. That's rarely where the problem is. They've cheaped out and ordered a cheap charger on, Amazon. They've had, they've used batteries that weren't compatible with the piece of equipment they were supposed to be, it's not the original battery and OEM model that they didn't wanna buy the DeWalt, so they bought this cheap one and then it caused a fire. So most of the time, it's not, the well-made products that are the issue. It's the aftermarket stuff that becomes the problem. So these tools that we have, there's literally almost no cases of failure issues with these tools.
So you already have one of these?
We already have one, yes.
And
And we've
okay.
seen some other companies that we have, and we've had demos, we've seen other departments that use them, and they report no problems. I haven't seen any problems in the industry. They haven't issued any, concerning statements to the fire chiefs associations or anything. They're bulletproof at this point. They've been around long enough where they're made and they're bulletproof. It's
Yeah, I
the
think
battery
the
concern
only
is.
real issue was the duration of the battery.
So the duration, these things will cut, like, last year I went to, it's called the Rescue One University, and we spent all day long demoing these tools and cutting apart cars. And these single tools would cut apart 7, 8 cars in a row before they'd even start powering down and low without a charge. Now, these would have chargers on the trucks, they would trickle charge all the time, so that shouldn't be a concern. They should be ready to go, unless someone disconnected the battery and left it there, but if they're trickle charging, they're doing okay, there should be no problem with that. I have no concern over the battery strength of these tools, none
Okay.
whatsoever.
And grant money? You said yes?
Yes, there's definitely some grant money available, but again, I've always been one, grants are great, and I will always apply for them and always will apply for them, but I've always been one to say that I believe the town should always prepare to replace their own stuff.
Yeah.
I think a town's getting a lot of trouble when they say that magic grant word, and maybe next year we'll get one, maybe next year we'll get one, but if you don't plan for it at least, if it happens and it's great, you get an unexpected grant, all the better. But in my opinion, you should still be putting money away for the project because you cannot rely on that grant. It's a town equipment, it's not like it came off a grant, the town has it, they should plan to replace it in my opinion. But yes, there are some grants that are available, but every year through like the AFG grant, you can only apply for one thing. It's not like you're gonna apply for 20 things and knock off 20 projects. It's one thing and that's it. So if you choose one particular grant that you want to go after, it's only that. You can't just do 5 others at the same time. So
Okay.
you gotta be cautious with grants, is all I'm saying.
So this is a maybe?
A maybe,
For a grant.
yes, it's a maybe.
Okay.
There's what's called the firefighter safety grant, which you've heard of because we've come to you several times where you signed off on it, and we've gotten small pieces of equipment, and that's a grant that we could target those types of one tool at a time. However, they're always gonna exceed the maximum amount of our grant because of our population. So we'd have to find other monies to kick in at the same time to fund the remainder, probably a couple $1,000s, but we'd still have to fund the remainder of that project.
What's the life left on this equipment?
That we currently have?
Yeah.
So we have 2 sets. We have one set that's probably from the 90s, and that one is still functioning, but it's older technology, and we have one set that's probably from the mid to late 2000s, and that one is obviously aging as well. So, I would say that we probably have about 5 years left of useful life for those particular ones before we really start having some maintenance issues on them.
And your cost includes both sets?
That we would probably we would switch one to a backup position. The newest one would go to backup as a spare, and this equipment would allow us to use only the battery powered as a primary source. So that was what primarily the truck would carry. Correct.
So you just want one of these?
Yes, we're planning, I'm not asking for 2 sets, we're asking
Yeah,
for
okay,
one
all
complete
right.
set of battery powered tools. Yes, that would include, it's not just, it would be a combination tool, a cutting tool, a spreading tool, and then some rams. When we say rams, they're used to basically move a dashboard, like pick a dashboard up and move it. It's not just cutting a door, it's not just, it's pushing things apart, basically. It's stabilizing vehicles, like, one of the things we have to worry about, the other towns don't, is Mass Pike. We never know we're gonna get put into a situation, we could be dealing with a tractor-trailer truck, a very heavy vehicle, so some of these stabilization struts and tools and stuff like that, a lot of them come in very handy on the Pike because you just never know, you know what I mean? We may have to lift something, we may have to stabilize something so it can't roll. So it, you know, these types of equipment become very useful on places like the Mass Pike as well.
Okay.
Yep. And then the last two, we're looking at replacing our structural turnout gear again. These is what we wear every single day. This is everywhere from your hat all the way down to your boots and everything in between, your coats and your bunker, what's commonly referred to as your bunker gear. Coats and pants, all of that stuff. There's a 10-year life on anything that's what we call PPE, which is personal protection equipment. Currently, our gear was purchased and it has a 10-year life. It is halfway through that life right now, so it has about 4 to 5 years left of its life. However, it takes about a year and a half to get gear in now, the way it's manufactured and stuff. So we have to order it ahead of time, so we can't wait the 10 years. We have to really order it around 8 years in order to get it in before that 10-year span lapses. So we have about 2.5 to 3 years left to plan for this replacement before the current sets of gear expire. So we have until 2029, basically, is when it's gonna fully expire, but we need to make sure we order it and get it replaced a year and a half ahead of time, because that's how long it's gonna take to come in.
Okay.
And that's, that encompasses about $4,000 for every single firefighter that, head to toe, it's gonna replace everything at the same time,
Okay.
which is what we did once before. That's the last time we replaced our gear. We did it one-stop shop, and we did it all at one time.
And so I take it the grant money is probably more of a maybe than a yes,
Yes, and
for the same reason. you said
absolutely,
before.
and they, in order to be eligible, the problem that a lot of fire departments, the problem with the grant system in general sometimes is that, I'm trying to be careful how I word this, because I'm not trying to be insultive to any other communities out there, but there are times that I've seen personally where there have been communities out there that have basically, they were forced to give them a grant because they were so far out of compliance that when they wrote again, they saw it, they said, oh my gosh, they're wearing gear now that's 3 years out of date. You don't wanna be that town, because does it make you more competitive for the grant? Maybe, but you've put your firefighters at risk for 3 years, and God forbid one of them was burned in a building, they're gonna own the entire town for that mistake, and that is a huge thing. So you don't wanna be rewarded for negligence, is what I'm trying to say. So, you know, there are ways to get these grants, but in order to be eligible for like a PPE or personal protection grant, that gear needs to be expiring within a year of that grant. So if you didn't already plan for that money coming somewhere else and you didn't get that grant, you've now put your firefighters at huge risk because they're now out of compliance with NFPA, and then it's a big problem. So I would never wanna run a risk of waiting for a grant when it comes to like turnout gear, because that's something that was worn every day, no matter what. It has to work, it has to be together, it has to be right, or else there's major problems. You could apply for some of these other grants we talked about and run a much less of a risk than I would ever wanna take with turnout gear.
Okay.
The lapsing its years of service. I mean, if one of the firefighters, I mean, if we had a firefighter leave, not that I ever plan on it happening, but if I had a firefighter leave tomorrow, and they could go to the news and say, our gear is out of service by 3 years, and the chief did nothing about it, and the town did nothing about it, you'd end up on the news in about 3.5 seconds as soon as that happens. So we never wanna get put in that situation, and we never would put our people in that situation where they would be at risk like that.
Mhm.
And then the very last one is, already talking about this again, but is our ambulance replacement. So our current this is on here as the last priority. Our current ambulance is coming up on 2 years old. Time flies. So we normally replace our ambulance every 7 years. So this is something I added as the last priority to the list, just so everybody can start wrapping their head around it again, that if we're gonna prepare to put some money aside a little at a time to be able to get to that goal where, several years from now, we can plan on doing it. This is another thing that's gonna take a year and a half for it to come in, so we're gonna have to plan for it before 7 years if we wanna stay on that rotation and continue that 7-year replacement plan. So, so I'm just putting it out there for everyone to kind of see that will have to be something we talk about over the next few years as those couple more years pass.
How much life is left on it?
So right now, we have 5 years left, basically. We have 5 years left, but again, you have to have time for a build.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How many miles are on it?
Roughly, I think there's 21,000 right now, I have to look. I think about 2 years, it's about 22, 25, something, I have to look, I don't know the exact mileage on it.
Okay, so we did that, so are there any, first of all, are there any questions on any of this now? Okay, so given that things like the engine two, we're already gonna fund over time, it's a priority B, but.
Because you can't fund it all at once, I
Right,
understand that, yeah.
so out of these five, what would be like your top one and top two,
So you're
given
taking,
the funding?
take the
and
ones
account?
out of it that are, the big expensive ones? You're
Yeah,
taking
because-
the ambulance and which two are
Yeah.
you taking out? The ambulance and the engine two?
I guess, right, because you're not gonna get those like
You're not gonna
this
come up with
year, or even next
450,000
year,
or,
right?
yeah,
so-
I understand what you're saying. I mean, I put them on here because again, it's supposed to be projects over
No,
25,000.
no, it's
so,
perfect, yeah.
You know, and that's why it's on there. I would say, again, I numbered them in my own mind as priority. To me, I really think that we need to focus on the hose and the appliance replacement, which we do have the grant out for. Again, we got the grant in our back pocket. It's, if we start planning on that, and the grant comes in, all the better, we wipe it off and it's done. But I really would like to see the, you know, the extrication equipment. That's a big one for us, is to really start hammering on that, because we already have one of those tools. They're a tremendous technology. I'd love to see us picking away at replacing that, you know, sooner than later, because that is something we use, you know, not every day, certainly, thank goodness, but, you know, we use them enough, and we need them to
Okay.
function correctly.
So hoses,
So the hose-
extrication.
Yep.
Then, we think about maybe somehow funding the turnout gear, because we have a few years, and
Yep.
then the vehicles we fund, because we have to fund.
Yeah, so that's,
Right.
it is a lot, you know, like I said, there's, you know, there's other projects I've looked at, but these are the glaring ones here. You know, it's been a while since, I mean, the buildings are old, I'm not, you know, I thought about putting a window project for Station B, but we don't know what's really happening down there. That's a single pane windows down there. They've been existing like that forever. Some of them are cracked, some of them really need to be adjusted, the mortars, you know, but I mean, it's an old station. I mean, they're both old stations, so I hate to throw good money at the, you know, at them at the same time, you know, if we're trying to do other things, but, the main stuff is the equipment we use every day. I mean, it's not like they're falling down around us, they're maintenance as well as we can maintenance them, you know, they have newer roofs and the roofs are probably 17 years old, somewhere in there, 15 to 17 years old, so they're both rubber membrane roofs. I've had leaks in both of them, but they've been fixed. You know, so there's nothing currently leaking to my knowledge, but they're starting to age. But, I mean, I know the overall goal is to eventually do something outside of those stations. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
hate to, you know, put a $150,000 window project on a station that we don't know
Yeah.
how much more is the useful life of the station itself. So I'm trying to stay away from that realm for the most part, as long as we can function in it, and trying to maintain the equipment inside of it is more my priority, to be honest.
And Station A is obviously used way more than Station B. in
Correct.
terms
They're
of
both in the
people
same
and
age.
comfort.
Yeah,
If you think
they're-
of windows and heating it and.
So Station A was upgraded slightly. That does have newer replacement windows. I mean,
Okay.
basically, they were, you know, they certainly weren't these were your, pretty much, they put residential windows in there for the most part. It's not like they were commercial grade, you know, I mean, they were basically replacement residential windows you get from Lowe's, and some guy came in and framed them in. So it's nothing that was, you know, and not that I'm saying it wasn't done correctly, but it certainly wasn't, it's not a commercial grade stuff. So I mean, are they working? Yeah. Has it helped with the heat? Yeah. They used to have the same windows as Station B. Station B hemorrhages heat, that's just what it does, because it's single pane, it's an old station, it's all mortar and stuff. There is some cracking in there. There's no glaring safety issues down there that I can see at either station, really, to be honest. It's more cosmetic stuff that we pick away at. We paint, we scrape and paint and do this and try to get it looking nice, you know, once a year, and, you know, pick away at a little project here and there, but it's not like they're falling down around us.
But if you keep that one at 50, like during the winter, right,
Yeah,
it's
we
fine.
keep that down, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that thing is kept just at the bare minimum temperature. We
Yeah.
go down and
You
get the
want the
equipment.
pipes
It's no
to
longer,
freeze
yeah,
and-
it's no longer a manned station. It's, we
Yeah,
go down,
yeah.
it's specialty equipment, it's got our tanker, it's got, you know, it's got the Humvee that's down there, our new engine 4 is down there, that's a brush vehicle, so you know, it's all stuff that we're not using every day. Our primary engines, the ambulance, all that comes out of Station A. So
Yeah.
that's where everybody is for the most part. We go down when we need it for the other stations. So it's very minimal heat. It doesn't even have a phone down there. So, you know, it's not something that we occupy that often.
Yeah.
We do training. That's where our training room is.
Yeah.
And we're actually remodeling that a little bit right now. We're doing some, not remodeling, but cosmetic stuff, paint and just some upgrades and stuff like that. So just to make it look nice for the people and, you know, make it a little bit better for training and stuff. But that's really what we use it for. We go down there when we need to do a PowerPoint, when we need everyone to sit in a classroom and go over stuff. But generally speaking, everybody functions out of Station A. All
Okay.
the gear's up there too.
Right,
So,
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I think, unless anybody has any questions, I think we're good. Okay.
Thank you very
Chief.
much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Jeremy, you're up.
Oh, cool. Can I add like 15 things to that?
Next year.
Or,
How about
believe me,
14?
there'll be plenty to add
Thank
to
you,
it.
everybody. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Take care, Adam.
All right, so. We have four, right, four? Is
Yeah,
that-
just four for right this minute.
So we have F600,
Yeah.
sweeper, you got it, okay. All right, so F600?
F600, so this would be replacing what right now is our pretty much go-to F550. The 600 is just a little heavier duty upgrade from it. It's basically, it's a full hydraulic setup truck. It's the one that we go to every time there's an emergency call in. That's the truck that's taken. Every time they need it, spot sanding, plowing, whatever it might be, it's kind of like, it always functions the best because of the way it's set up. And essentially, that's why it becomes primary vehicle one. It generally never fails, and but it's run to the max. We bought the vehicle used and have been pushing its limits for years now, and if we don't replace it, it's like, then it's gonna fall back on some of the other trucks that are, they're a cheaper setup, they're electric setup. The sanders fail on them, they plug easier. It's just, again, it's total cost difference, but it's a performance difference too. So I figured if, this truck the one we're replacing is a 2012, it's got over 100,000 miles on it. It's, again, and in construction season, it's used virtually every day, right? It's used for our chipper box, it's used for the leaf system, it's used for virtually everything because it's a very versatile truck. So that's why that one is primary, number one, because if we don't do something with it, we're gonna end up having to park it and be down a truck.
So, are you keeping, there's a sander on it? And are
So
you
there's a
keeping
sander
that?
on it, but it's very old.
So you're gonna get rid of that
Yeah,
sander?
we have to replace it.
Okay,
The sander and the plow are both, they came with the truck, they were great pieces of equipment, they still function really well, it's just all the welds are cracking on them, all the braces are coming apart,
Yeah.
everything's corroded, it needs all new pumps, new hoses. It's just like, we either gotta sink a ton of money into it
okay.
or replace it,
So the price includes the sander?
everything. Yep.
Okay, because it
Plow,
wasn't clear.
sander, everything.
Okay, it wasn't clear on here
Yep.
that there was a sander. so
That's a complete upfit package.
That's the 78,000.
$78,000 is to upfit the truck, so the other money, you get the cab and the frame, and then
Mhm.
$78,000 completely go through, they do all the specialty lighting on it, all the controls, electric
Okay.
over hydraulic, sometimes they do aero or hydraulic on the big trucks. But, that's fully set up, ready to roll.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, I see. So that's the last item.
The last item on is the
Okay.
upfit.
I thought that was a subtotal or something of the things.
No, that's, so
Okay.
once we purchase the truck through the state contract,
Diesel
they're tied into Madigan's, which is the
So
upfitter.
this is, I thought this was like a subtotal. I didn't do any math, so I was thinking
Mhm.
that was some sort of subtotal. But you have the 58, then
Yeah.
you have 10 grand, then you have a bunch of little stuff, and then you have 78.
Yeah, which is the
Okay.
upfit.
All right,
So that's a plow, the sander.
everything, plow, sander, full hydraulic hookup, so it's,
All the
they,
patrols.
they plumb the whole thing in, all the wiring, all the hydraulic hoses, everything.
Okay,
That's the complete deal. And for that truck, if we went electric on everything and cheaped out on everything, they're running around 105,000 right now. But then we would, again, you're not replacing what we have.
Mhm.
You're giving us something that's, we can make do with. But again, it's more
But you're
about,
up
let's
from-
buy the right thing now and
You're up for more issues with electric than
oh, we
hydraulic.
have so much electric stuff in the garage right now,
Yeah.
and every single event, we have electrical failures,
Mm.
everyone. Because salt and water do not mesh well with electric.
yeah,
So whether it's constantly, plows are going down, sanders are going down, lighting systems are going down. Some of the switches and controls which initiate, it all runs through different wires and different setups where they fail. We have to constantly spend time chasing wires, finding, as we call them, green wires. When they get exposed to water and salt, the
Oh.
copper wire turns green.
yeah.
And it just
Patina.
crumbles.
Yeah, wow.
So, and our 2 electric sanders right now, which are on, the old, one's on our brand new, our 550 we got last year, that was repurposed, so it's still working, but it's showing a lot of corrosion in the last year or two. So I'm worried about keeping in that direction. Yes, it saves money, but ultimately, it's not gonna last.
Yeah,
So we're gonna end up replacing the sander before the truck's even gone through.
yeah,
So that's what at that point, then you just spent the money twice, so you
right,
should've just bought the hydraulic one to begin with,
yeah.
so.
Is there could this be spread, the funding for this, could it be spread over 2 years? Like, what's your life left on, or if we,
We're playing with fire, that's all I can say.
Okay, so
I mean,
more of an immediate?
maybe it'll make it to next winter and through, you never know,
Yeah,
it
well,
could,
yeah,
but we could have catastrophic failure.
okay,
So you don't, the engines, the problem is on these, on this truck that we're getting and replacing. Of course, the newer ones, they're starting to make them a little better, the diesels. They have issues with idling, so their exhaust systems run on temperature, so they burn out these very expensive filters. A new exhaust filter is over $5,000.
Mm,
Just so it's a section of muffler, 5 feet long, basically.
that's the new emissions stuff, right?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
all due with the emissions, cause they all have to do through regen and all that, so to burn the exhaust fluids out. So the issue with this truck is the exhaust system is pretty much at the end of its life. We have to do we call it forced regen, so we have to bring it to a mechanic who has a computer set up to plug into the truck and literally force it to burn the exhaust at almost full throttle for 30 minutes at a time, just so the truck will function properly. Because a lot of times you get in and the exhaust backs up on it, it shuts the truck down and you lose all your horsepower. So basically, you're creeping along at 10, 15 miles an hour, and that's, unless you get on some flat ground, and then you could do 20, 25.
Yeah.
But that's an issue we're always dealing with now. But again, they're getting better with the new diesels, thank goodness, finally. But as long as the government requires the exhaust systems we have on them, we're always gonna have problems.
Okay,
So,
so this would be good, FY '25 is what you
Yeah.
wanna do for this, okay.
Do you use this truck through the summer as well?
yep, spring, summer, fall. I went out, that truck was running today. It runs every day. It's running our chipper right now.
Oh, yeah, you
We're
said.
cutting
that
brush,
chipper,
we're
yeah.
chipping brush into this truck every day. It's set up for it. And then
Will the new truck be set up for
Yep.
it as well?
Yep.
Okay,
we'll be able to transfer the chip box stuff right over to this truck.
okay.
And then same thing, because it's the same setup, we just changed and modify the chip box into a leaf box so we can vacuum all the leaves up out of the cemeteries and the parks and stuff in the fall.
What-
Yeah, I mean, you are doing
What's the
more.
availability of one of these? Is it within?
So right now, it's pretty good, but that could change.
Yeah, like,
So
I guess
there-
what I'm getting at, are we gonna have to do a build on it?
Yeah,
Or is it something that the chassis is there?
Well, the chassis are there, they're pumping them out. So it's just a matter of the waiting period. Now, the upfit is through Madigan's, it's
Yep.
probably the largest upfitter anywhere around here. And they have all the stuff that's going on the truck is sitting in their yard right now. You drive up there, there's hundreds of dump bodies, hoists, plows, sanders, just all ready to go. And they have, 30 trucks a day being built in this place. So it is the primary place to go to have your trucks built. So their turnover is about 2 to 3 months right now. So if we put in an order in July, by the time we get the cab chassis set up, delivered, hopefully Madigan's would only be a month or 2 out on the build. So we could have the truck essentially before winter, so.
Did Colonial look at, or CMG look at a possible trade on this one? I know you have auction 10,000, but would the dealer give you any? Any
They
information?
probably would, but I don't think it would be much more than that.
Okay.
If anything, it'd probably be less, because it's just because of the wear it shows in the truck. The truck market's high, but when you're turning in a municipal truck that's clearly gone through the ringer for year after year, it's not anybody who buys it knows they're gonna spend a lot of money on it very soon. So, cause everything on it is expensive.
In a used vehicle?
You're rolling the dice. We got this one several years ago used, luckily. The town
Okay.
had 2 trucks, they had to get rid of one, and I knew the highway boss. I was introduced to him, and we kinda went through, and he says, well, I need to keep this truck for a reason, but I could probably let that one go, and he was doing us a big favor, because when that truck entered into our fleet, it was by far the best truck we had.
Yeah.
To buy somebody's, but again, not too many towns are giving away good trucks. They usually run them till they're where ours are at.
Okay,
So it was very fortunate. So,
okay. So a little bit of a fluke.
Yeah, it was absolutely a fluke.
Okay,
So,
all right. Elgin Sweeper.
yes. This is a wonderful piece of equipment that's insanely expensive.
Yeah,
So ours is a 1994. It does not pass the specs as far as health. To run this machine is very dirty. And it's
okay.
not a pressurized system. So when you ride in the cab, all the dust and oil residue and everything from the roads, you can literally watch it rise right up into your controls and into the air. We have to put all the fans on full. We are constantly fixing the air conditioning and all that, just because I need that air to be able to force good air into the cab and force the bad air out. And you basically have to run it with the window open. Otherwise, you pretty much, we put masks and breathers on sometimes, but you're always just hanging your head out the window to breathe.
Wow.
So it's
okay.
that, and the machine is completely worn out.
Yeah,
We pretty much have duct tape, and we welded and pieced it back together, and just kind of trying to make the water system work as a constant battle. Replaced so many different parts on it in the last couple of years, and usually it doesn't last. Like we're gonna send it out probably next week. We're gonna start sweeping, and I don't expect it to last the week without a pretty major breakdown. So, because it never does. It never usually makes it 3 or 4 days, and then it's broken down for a week or 2 until we can get parts. Which parts are much harder to get because it's an old machine, and these things are completely obsolete. So the new ones are beautiful. You could wear a tuxedo to work, climb in, sweep streets all day, get out and go to a fancy dinner. I mean, it's.
I didn't see a paper for tuxedos. So
Yeah, I know.
Is that a new
Nah,
request?
that's bring your own. But no, that's, they went to a pressurized cab system around, I think, 2007. So even if we upgraded from our 94 to a 2007, you'd at least be getting into that realm of, at least you could breathe.
Yeah,
Beyond that, the issue is how worn out are they? Certain things are very easily replaceable, they're made that way. but then there's main components, the, you know, the elevator system, it's all, you know, metal built system that all wears out from fatigue and cracks and breaks, and then you gotta pull the whole thing apart and rebuild it. So, again, you can buy a used one, used ones are, used market, it's usually towns that are turning them in after they're about 10 years old. That's when usually everybody gets rid of their sweepers, is about 10 years old. That's, I believe this one we bought after a town got rid of it after 10 years. And that market is anywhere from 70 to 100,000 for a used one. So, and again, that's your, they usually go, if you buy them through, like CN Wood sells Pelican, which is their state contract, you know, vendor that we could easily go through. And they take them and go right through them, make sure they're pretty good before they'll sell them to another municipality. But again, that's I would say I'd like to try to do that, just because the idea of spending, and this was $300,000 was if you ordered it like 2 months ago. And it's like 300, and that depends on your options. It's anywhere from 300 to like 315, 318,000, and then and they're just going up, 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 up. So again, for a machine we use for 3-4 weeks out of the year, it's kind of like I can't see spending that kind of money. I would rather put that money to something else.
Yeah, exactly, right.
So, but if we could put, you know, $100,000 aside to get a good quality used one through the dealer, then I would not be against that, because whatever we get is gonna be a serious upgrade from what we have.
Yeah, so that'd be 2007 or later,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So even a used one would probably have a pressurized cabin.
Yeah, as long as it's 2007 or newer,
Well,
that's when they changed the standards, so they were all forced to change them then. So ours is, like I said, it's completely obsolete.
I've seen the current one in operation. And I
It's fun.
totally support you getting a new one.
It's fun.
And you said, I'm sorry,
That's all right. I
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
no, it's just a comment that
Yeah.
it needs to be replaced.
Okay.
You said we only use it 3 to 4 weeks a year?
That's where the primary use is, so it takes about 4 weeks to sweep most of the streets and roads in town that we do. We really haven't given the town a thorough go through in a long time, because the machine hasn't stayed running long
Yeah,
enough to do
right.
it. Usually we'll do, like, we'll go out and we'll do, you know, a section of streets in Warren one day here, another day, Tuesdays, and then, oh, we're gonna go to West Warren and it breaks by then, and maybe we get it going 2 weeks from now, and we go spend a couple days in West Warren doing a few, and 2 years ago, we lost it, and I wasn't able to sweep pretty much 80% of the streets in town. But then we finally got it going, we used it in the fall. And then when we have storm damage and stuff, that's where we always go out and help clean up the roads after that. But lately, I've relied on, we bought some small equipment, like a small bucket sweeper we purchased for our Whacker using, which was good for like isolated cleanups. So we have a washout and there's a ton of dirt in front of the car wash. We can go and clean that one area without bringing the old antique out
Yeah.
to stir up the dust. And that was essentially, it's a very handy tool, but it's only good for small applications. So, and again, the reason we got that is because our sweeper is it doesn't do a very good job, and it did do a very nice job for a while, but the conveyor system is so worn out now that a third of the material that it's trying to pick up drops back off onto the street.
Oh, boy.
So you're making extra trips.
Primarily, where do you use, is this like the village commercial district, would you
Yeah,
say?
that's where the majority of the use
A little
is.
residential?
Yeah,
maybe?
we do some more back, like we're, gonna do road work on Old West Warren Road. We'll sweep the entire thing.
Oh, okay.
Cross Street, Columbus, we're gonna do some stuff on Town Farm, we're gonna go sweep these roads before we do any work, or after we do our prep, before the companies come to do asphalt treatments. So, I mean, it does see a lot of the town, but the majority of the roads that we used to sweep with it, we don't anymore, just because it's it's not worth taking it out there because it's gonna break. So we just kind of try to keep it to the close to
Yeah.
home areas.
So is this an FY '25 or '26?
I would love to see it, but I mean, obviously, I'm gonna start sweeping with it next week, so we're gonna make it run.
Yeah,
Whether how far it goes, I mean, that's just simply is the
Okay.
sooner the better on this one
okay.
would be ideal.
Is there any market to rent rather than buy a vehicle? If we only use it
I
4
mean.
months, I mean, 4 weeks. a year?
Yeah, I mean, we could contract a company to come in and sweep.
Oh,
You know, again, depending on what sections of town we have them sweep, and, you know, you're looking at $25,000 for a couple of weeks of them coming in. Again, you could do it that way, but then it takes it out of our hands to be able to use it in so many other situations where we would use it. But if we didn't have it, we're relying upon a secondary company to come in, that you're gonna run into trouble,
Well,
not by doing it that way.
at 25 a pop, then you're talking.
Yeah,
Three times you use
three
it,
times
and
you
you're-
hire in
you
a
should've bought a new one.
company and you
Or, I
just
mean,
bought
used,
your
yeah,
used one.
Used one.
And the used one we're looking to buy, you're easily gonna get 10 years out of it.
Ah,
This one
okay.
here, we've got, I think let's see, it wasn't 14, I think 94, 04. I'm gonna say they probably bought this in maybe, I don't know, 06, 07, somewhere around there. So we've had it we've had it almost 20 years, I know that.
Mhm.
So, on purchasing a used one, it's a little tricky with procurement, because you're not buying it directly off of a state contract. I mean, how does, in terms of, you know, purchasing this, where would you purchase this from? Would you purchase it from another municipality? It sounds like you said you were going from a dealer.
Well, it would have to probably go through CN Wood, who takes all their trade-ins. So you would have to put together some sort of, you know, put it out there, hey, here's the specs of what we're looking for, you know, and see who else can match it.
Yeah,
And
so I mean, there'd be-
essentially, yes, procurement is gonna be a little tricky with it, but they've done it in the past, they do it, other towns do it all the time, they sell to municipalities, so I can't see why we can't figure out how to make it happen.
We can.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, it's just not simple of just, you know, here's
It's
the
not as easy as
80
buying a
grand
new
and you go
one.
buy it. There's a
Yeah.
process that would have to play out.
Yes, and the point is it's difficult to get your price exactly where you need it. So the town of Brimfield, what they did is they set aside a certain amount of money, which I think was about $80,000. They ended up buying a machine for about $50,000. It had damage to it. They were able to buy a new hopper system for it, buy new pickup belts, buy all new brushes, plus a stockpile of gutter brooms. So they essentially used the $80,000 100% on this one machine. They bought it, fixed it, and had a bunch of parts and storage all off of that $80,000, which is essentially where we would probably end up being, hoping that maybe if there is enough money to buy it and have any extra to kind of stockpile your wearing parts, which is, you know, brooms and brushes wear out constantly. I just bought a new box of brooms, it was $1,000. So it's like money goes like that with these equipment, so.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the blueprint that they went by, and to me, it just makes a lot of sense, so. Versus, you know, again, you gotta find the machines. The manufacturer, the dealers, they know who's trading in stuff. There's a list of towns that their new ones are all gonna be on order as soon as the vote goes through.
right.
So we know where they're gonna be coming from and what's gonna be available, but they did warn us that they go fast, cause other towns suck them right up. Cause a lot of towns are in our position where it's an extremely valuable piece of equipment to have, but do you have enough need where you can throw $300,000 at it versus spreading that money out into other stuff? So that's why the used market is very competitive on these.
Okay,
So.
all right. F-350.
Yes, that is my pickup truck that I drive every day. It's it's a 2015. It'll be coming up. Obviously, the 25s will be coming out. So 10 years is generally your spot to start to look to replace it. I know there was a conversation and a need potentially for an emergency manager, needed a vehicle. The truck is still in fairly decent shape. It is showing a lot of wear. It has a lot of dents and bruises and bumps, and we've done a lot of front end work to it just because Ford front ends seem to wear out fast, and the motor still seems to run pretty good. It's not out of its life, out of its useful life, but it's getting to the end. So
Yeah.
if we wanted to repurpose this truck within the town, it's right there, where if I run it for another year or two, full-time, all the time, it plows every single snowstorm. I mean, we go out slushing with it. It's a truck that everybody jumps on for. I'd say it's my truck to run at the highway department, but I probably only run it half the time, because everybody's always jumping in it to do little things here and there. So it does see a lot of wear and tear. And now's the time, if we want to replace it, obviously the prices on those trucks are not going down either. And it would give us another pickup truck in the fleet that is still very usable. So, and if we wanted to table it and push it off a year, that's fine, but again, your usefulness in another facet in the town is going to go away.
But you would have to order this on a build, because they're not readily available.
Yeah, they're pumping out trucks pretty good right now. We talked to our contact at Colonial. They were pretty adamant that there would be trucks available this summer for us.
How many miles are on it, Jeremy?
Oh, I'd 71,000 or something like that, I think it is. It's like 70, it's just over 70, I know that.
So it's got a lot of life left.
Yeah, but you understand there's a difference between you driving your vehicle 70,000 miles and us driving these vehicles 70,000 miles. 70,000 miles of slamming through the most, bad conditions. When you guys are parked, we're out running. Plowing snow with a vehicle is
Beats the
just
living crap
super
out of it.
destructive.
Yeah.
Because you gotta think, every single time you hit something with a snowplow, whether it be a manhole cover, we've got lots of them, edge of a curb, somebody's driveway apron sticking up, whatever it might be, every time you hit that impact, you feel it. You feel it in your hands, you feel it's a small car accident. And it can sometimes happen 15 times in one snowstorm. So that vehicle's probably been in hundreds of small car accidents over its lifetime. So that's what takes so much life out of these vehicles. And that's anything you put in snow and snow plowing is just gonna get beat. So, and none of our equipment has a tremendous amount of miles on it, but a lot of it is very, very worn out, just for that reason.
Yeah.
You're not cruising around on a Sunday with it, you're putting it to work.
Okay. All right. Dry storage building.
Yes, so we have a good problem. Through the last 3 to 4 years, I've gotten a lot of equipment via surplus and through auctions, and just, being aggressive at town meetings, going after, whether it be small implements to do certain projects, picking up extra vehicles. We got a truck from town of Greenfield for our park and rec. We got enough stuff now where our shop is completely stuffed full, and we have to pick and choose what parks outside, and that lineup outside is getting bigger. And it's a very proven fact that if you store your equipment outside, you're taking a third of its life right off the top. So before we start having to put new stuff outside, we need to address this. And the way I figure is, I don't need a heated building. I just need dry place. That's dry and clean. We can put sanders inside when we're done using them, so they're not sitting out. I mean, we pulled 4 of the sanders we pulled off. We try to treat them before we put them in storage, but We had to go through and change bearings on half of them because they sit all summer and they just, as soon as you start spinning them in the fall, when you're loosening everything up, the bearings just start coming apart, the seals come apart, the chains break, all that stuff. Snow plows, same thing, there's so much rust we scrub them and clean them best we can, we put them away, but they're exposed to the rain and sun and sand all spring, summer, fall. So when we get them out on the fall, they put them back to work. We're fixing a lot of stuff just because of storage. And again, this stuff's so expensive to replace. I came across a woman in West Brookfield. She's got the perfect frame set up. It has a canvas on it currently. It's ripped. It needs to be replaced. But she's willing to sell the whole frame setup of this basically 40 by 65 building for $1,000. We have to take it down, but it's not hard to take down, and it's not hard to build either. It's just I need to be able to put a new canvas on it, which was about $5,000, and then there's a couple options to putting the building either on storage containers, so you instantly elevate them so you can drive big equipment underneath them, and then you'd have lockable storage on each side, because the actual containers become the outside wall of the building. So then you have a 40-foot and a 20-foot storage container on each side. You can lock, tools, hand tools. I mean, we have three storage buildings now. The floors are rotted out in them. The walls have holes and everything. The doors don't barely latch anymore. They're falling off. They were old and used when we got them. 2 of them were taken from West Warren and brought to this location in Warren. So that gives you an idea how. That was 2007, 2008. So it wouldn't be a bad move to replace the storage buildings at the same time as putting up a new cold storage facility. So that option was really good. It worked out to be about $20,000 for 4 new buildings to put this building on. So between that, the canvas, and then I would like to pave the floor of the building, so the vehicles aren't, and the stuff in there isn't put on gravel. It's on asphalt, so everything will stay, cleaner, drier, nicer. So about $30,000 should complete the whole project. The other option is we can buy concrete walls. So we buy the blocks, and we essentially build our own wall out of blocks, very, very close to the same price. So by the time we priced out blocks from a few different companies, so that you're basically almost in the same place. But if you do the blocks, it's beautiful, big, solid. It doesn't take up as big of a footprint either, because now you're taking off these 8-foot wide storage buildings and replacing them with 2-foot wide concrete blocks. So our footprint is a lot smaller, but essentially cost is around the same. And you don't have that. You're not replacing those other storage buildings.
Right, you're gonna have to replace them at some point anyway.
At some point anyway, we're
Yeah.
gonna have to get some new storage containers in there.
Yeah, this seems like a better approach.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that, whether it happens now or it happens next year or whatever, we just have to make sure we start going in that direction, because we have way too much equipment that's sitting outside right now.
Well,
But that frame is only available,
I can buy I'm gonna use general highway funds. I have $1,000 set aside out of that. So I can purchase that frame today. I just didn't wanna purchase it until I spoke to you guys to see where you were at with this project. If this is if this is something we're all on board with, I'll lock in that purchase. She said she'd hold it to June for me even if I needed to, but she would like it out of there as soon as possible. So we were kind of tossing around like, well, all right, I don't want to go take it down and give her the $1,000 for it till I know that we have a project established.
Yeah.
So
Any type of frame could be secured to the top of whatever, with the cinder blocks or the building?
yes, they attach. There's big steel plates that attach to the framework of the building, and those plates can be lagged to either surface. They have brackets, you can mount them right on top of the storage buildings. You can buy the storage buildings and the whole thing as one kit, but that's a lot more money.
Yeah.
So this way here saves a huge chunk of money.
Okay.
So, we just tap con the blocks, we'll drill them and put studs in them, and right now the building's mounted to concrete blocks. She just wants to keep the blocks. So it's
Oh,
like,
okay.
but in her blocks are only 2 feet off the ground. I wanna go 6 feet with them.
Right, so you can
So
get like some-
who's gonna move this stuff?
We'll take it apart.
At her house?
Yeah, it's on her property.
Okay.
so.
Be careful of liability,
Yeah.
over there.
What was I gonna say? Oh, how many vehicles would you be able to fit under this?
Yeah, we could probably put all the snow plows and all the sanders in the spring, summer, and fall, plus at least 2 trucks, 2 big trucks. We could probably put 2 big trucks and 3 or 4 small trucks. I mean, you just pack it in however you want. We could put a lot of equipment in this. So,
So they're not individual bays?
no, it's one big open bay.
Okay.
So,
All right. I don't know, this one, to
It-
me, this one seems like we should do this.
Yeah.
Because if it increases the life of the other equipment that we
Yeah.
have, it's just, and it's not like it's 300,000, it's
No.
30,000,
Yeah.
it's not. And you can get the frame, so, okay, so say we blow the June deadline
Yeah.
and we have to buy a new frame?
that increases the price about 12 to, about,
Yeah.
they're around $15,000 for a
Okay.
frame, thereabouts. So,
So new is 15,
and that's again, this is with us building it, as opposed to paying a company to come
Mhm.
in and do it.
Yeah.
That changes the price by a lot
yeah,
too.
I'm sure, yeah.
So, and we're fortunate we have the equipment that we can do it.
And the canvas was like 5.
5,000 for the canvas. yeah.
Okay,
So no, this wouldn't have any doors or anything, it would just literally be a canopy.
One side, yeah, so you can, they have for actually very short money, they have framework, she has the framework for the sides, so you can close in the sides if you want. And they even have set up, you could buy a roll-up garage door that actually works with it, it's a light-duty door. But I don't think we would need it, I'm just gonna position the building so it's turned away from the wind. And, you know, we might put a canvas wall on one side, leave the other side just open. Again, we're just looking for the dry storage, we're not, you turn it away from the west wind and you won't get very much in there, the building at all, it'll stay pretty dry.
And you'd still be able to swing the vehicles.
Oh, yeah, you'd be able to turn them in, no problem.
so wait, you're getting 4 storage containers, but you say 2 40-foot and 1 20-foot?
2 20-foots,
Oh, okay.
so, yeah.
And these would be new storage containers?
Yes, they're new ones.
Okay. So why would you, well, you still gotta have a door somehow to get in and out, even though you have, basically, you're surrounding it with storage
No,
containers?
there
No,
are 2 on
front-
each side, because the building's it's 62 feet long.
Oh, okay,
So the storage containers are
The
each
long
side,
side.
and the ends are completely
the
open.
ends are open, okay, I see, got it,
So,
all right.
a lot of towns, a lot of highway departments are going. A lot of them are going with this as their new salt sheds. Instead of building a huge salt shed, they're putting up these buildings to store their salt and sand in.
Mhm.
So it's something that a lot of towns are going in
Basically,
this
that's what it
direction.
looks like.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
the reason why we've gone in this direction and why they went in this direction, is just because it's so much cheaper than putting up a steel building or a wood building. It's just,
Yeah.
you can't compare it. And again, it's not like, if I was looking to put electricity and heat and all that stuff, this is not the way to go.
Yeah,
But we're just looking to keep our equipment out of the sun and the rain and the snow,
right,
so,
okay,
that's all.
all right.
Do you know why the current canvas is in disrepair?
It's old, it got ripped on one end and they never fixed it and just let it blow in the wind. And eventually it just kind of beat itself up.
Mhm.
So it's one of those deals where if it gets a tear, they have kits, you can fix them.
Okay.
But
You gotta do it right
she
away.
didn't fix it and it just let it fall apart.
Yeah,
And
So-
snow load's not a concern, it won't?
No, the way the buildings are, the snow sheds right off. So,
okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
all right,
Thanks,
thank
Jim.
you guys.
That's really-
All right, so moving on, we let's go back to the spreadsheet and the categories and, so you wanna pass out your thing?
Yep.
Dan did an excellent sheet, so we'll talk about that first.
Okay.
I think this is a great way to visualize this, especially because then you can grab the total there at the bottom and say, okay, this is what we would spend, this is what we would ask, like in 24. We would ask for 214.
It's really 25, yeah.
Yeah,
We're in 24 now.
yeah, I would bump
Yeah, I
each of
just
these a
did it.
year.
No, that's,
Just to give a scale of what we're looking at.
Yeah,
And, you know, the priorities I put in here, I just based off what we had already discussed, but that can
Yeah.
all change. The only thing I didn't put in here was funding sources, because I don't know what we have for funding sources.
Mhm.
yeah. I don't think we have any idea what funding sources would be at this point, right? I mean, there's potential grants with the fire department, but,
Well, you get
Or
grants, you got
potential.
lending levies, you got, I don't know what other types of accounts we have. Do we have?
So,
Capital,
you know, the town will understand a little bit, as to where we are with, you know, surplus revenues, free cash, usually in the fall, you know,
Mhm.
around September, October. And then, you know, those requests, like this request, you know, this past special, we addressed a few different capital projects, as well as previously, last year, we did some also at the special. So it's a good time to kind of understand where you are financially, and what you can obligate and what you want to put away for funding sources. You know, that can obviously be a discussion later on as to where we are, once we lay out all the projects and see how much the costs are gonna be. You know, then you're gonna have to make a determination as to if we can afford to do them, or this year, or you can't afford to do them. You know, where we are.
I think this is great because we get to look at the dollars too.
yeah,
The only couple suggestions that I would have is switching, having the current year first,
yeah, that's what I thought too.
and maybe having a column that says something about how much funding we already have put away,
Mhm.
Yes, yeah, I don't have any of that information, so.
right? But just having a column after it, you know, the total
Yeah.
cost is, for the ambulance is 400, we've already socked away, you know, 300.
Yep.
And we can work on that. And then I think somewhere in here, we probably should have the amount that's in the capital planning account.
Yeah, again,
Mm.
Right, no, but somewhere in the spreadsheet,
Yeah.
so that we can see how much, and whether that's, you know, down at the
this
very
can,
bottom.
this is just a rough draft, this can be expanded. You can even add other things other than police, fire, highway, you can add schools in here, you can add whatever you need to in here, and put a line item for everything. You know, that way there, you have a full picture of the budget.
So what do we have for money? We have capital stabilization?
Yep, so that requires a, you know, a 2/3 vote out, at town meeting. You know, that could be, you know, a revenue source, to fund some of this. I don't know if I would necessarily recommend that right now, you know, depending on where we are with, you know, free cash and different things like that. That may be a, you know, possibility. There may be, you know, some aspects for some of the larger projects. You may have to, you know, take out some debt on, if you're gonna do that, you know, depending on where you are with all the projects. But those are basically what you have.
And capital stabilization, does that include money that we've already socked away?
Yeah, that's
exactly what
That's what that
essentially, yeah,
is.
separate, you know.
Okay.
And that's what I think we
Yeah.
should use
So
That's
capital,
what the project's for, I mean, that's why we have a capital stabilization.
Well, the capital stabilization could also be used for building, you know, if you're gonna do some type of building, you know, project, like say, for example, if you were gonna do a public safety complex or something, you've had money socked away for.
because we put money in there without any purpose.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whereas we may have like an ambulance fund as part of that,
Sure,
right? Okay.
sure, sure, you could
Okay.
do something like that.
Yeah, I would think that we could use some of the capital stabilization money that's set aside, I mean, unless we have,
I mean, basically,
Other
you would,
projects that
you
we
would make
know.
your designations under the funding sources, whether it be, the capital stabilization, free cash, whatever it might be, you know, identify it in that column, and then just because it's there doesn't mean that's where that money has to come from. It's identified it could come from that location.
So,
So I think the group should focus in on, you know, laying out the projects and worrying about the funding sources after the fact. That can be, that can be debated, you know, after the
Mhm.
fact. I think getting an idea of where we are with requests, getting an idea of where we are with you know, priorities of the request, I think is critical at this point.
yeah,
Yeah, and, you know. we
Because
can-
you're gonna be coming up with, you know, once you see it all on a spreadsheet, you know, there may be $2 million worth of requests here.
Yeah.
And, you know, that, okay, well, we can't, obviously, we only have $600,000 in, capital stabilization, we can't afford to fund it all. And you'll be running dry in that account relatively quickly. So, you know, what are some of the things that we could do? Maybe we can take away, you know, look at our free cash reserves. What are we projecting for free cash going into the future? Is there any other ways that we can, you know, spread some of these things out over the course of you know, 3 or 4 years?
Do any of the heavy hitters, like, let's say a fire truck, is that available on a lease or anything like that? You know, it's an option.
so funding would go at the bottom, so this is kind of like a total of what we wanna spend, or what we
So
could
what you got
spend.
totaled out now is everything that we have here,
Yeah,
comes to like 2,800,000.
so then the next line would be how are we gonna pay for it? And then we should get a balance of 0, at least for 25, right?
Well, I mean, again, you know, these could be just, you know, some type of, you know, sometimes, you know, these plans are not fully funded, you know,
Right.
they're just,
It's a paper plan.
yeah, it's, like I said in the beginning, and, you know, this is a very living document that can morph and change and,
I mean,
Yeah.
just because I plugged numbers in here, what I did was I went through this, all the documents, and I took the total, if you see in the column, the total, and I spread it out over, what, 5-year
Yeah.
program. Okay, and that's how I went by priorities.
But at least for FY '25, or year '24, we at least need to figure out how we're gonna pay for
Right,
'25.
right,
The rest of the years, not so much,
right.
but we at least need, so let's just say it's the 974.
yeah, I mean, yeah, but, I
So
mean,
we gotta
we
come-
haven't,
you
we haven't
haven't even
decided, we haven't
agreed.
determined that.
No, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, just hypothetically,
Yeah.
if this is what we have, then we gotta figure out, we gotta have numbers under here that's gonna say, you know, minus 450 from something, minus 200 from something, minus 300 from something else, right? So we get to a 0, and then we
Yeah.
know. Or we gotta say, you know, this amount gets shoved into the next year,
Mhm.
right? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So we either play with how we pay for it, or we play with what we're gonna spend. So we get a funded, and then we gotta take that to the meeting, right? And say, here's what we wanna do, are people gonna vote yes or no?
And I think yeah, I agree with everything you said, Rich. The problem right now is what actually gets put in
Yeah,
fiscal '24.
yeah, I know.
Do we wanna,
so we go back to our priority list?
Yep.
So
Exactly.
do we need to go through, because I had done up
Yeah, sure,
one,
okay.
two.
Okay, so any other questions? This is awesome. I think this is like such a great picture, so, yeah, so let's talk about the categories, because then they will
Add.
handle the rating of these projects. So, I don't know, did anybody come up with something different?
I
Yeah.
came up with others. I
Oh,
didn't-
good.
I didn't make copies. I
Okay.
most certainly can go make copies if you want me to. It pretty much took it from the city of Springfield, for the most part.
I didn't like the city of Springfield stuff at all, so I made up my own kind of.
Okay.
I mean, I kind of took it, but I felt like it didn't apply in a lot of cases to us, so. But, okay, so you want, just go through, like, okay, so mandated, and did anybody else do anything?
I generally liked yours, Rich, just with a couple of minor things we can get to when we get down
Okay.
to the detail on it. But, Don, if we could run copies off of that, so we could look at it while
Yeah, could you?
we're talking about it,
I'm
because
sorry.
rather than have you read every bullet, and then I'm not gonna remember it, and, yeah.
Sure. Is your office open to make copies?
Yeah,
I can run in there.
No, no, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
So in the meantime, is it worth banging down through Rich's just to give some initial feedback on it? Because
Yeah,
mandates,
sure, yeah, let's-
mandates
Yeah,
sound great.
absolutely.
I don't have any problem with mandates. It's-
Okay, so yeah, let's do anything on mandates, and we'll get Jim's opinion when he comes back.
The only thing would be, is, you could maybe do a 5-3, you got a pretty tight 90-day, 180-day.
Yeah, that's fine.
Um,
Again, I just kind of took a,
Yep,
right, a
nope.
stab, and I was like,
Because it's gonna
1
be
year.
more than 180 days before this goes before
Exactly.
any.
So
Yeah.
what if we did, what if we did, 5, 3, 2, 1 immediate? Because immediate's basically in the next year.
We need to do it now,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm
So-
thinking of like the sewer ones.
right.
The EPA has already said you have to do this.
Right.
That's like,
So
we
would
don't have
that
a
work?
choice.
Do
Yeah, that's
or,
fine.
or you could put 4 or more years instead of 5. Maybe immediate, 1, 2, 3, 4 or more years.
Okay, 4+.
4+, because some things
Sure.
might be like 8. Yeah, didn't we
Yeah.
have a couple things that were like 7, 8 years out?
Well, technically,
Which-
like the turnout gear,
Right.
right, we would put in
Yeah,
that slot.
So that was all I had on mandates. And
Okay.
Before we go on, are we all in agreement on that?
I think so, okay. Project funding fiscal impact. Again, a little bit, so the weird one is how do you weave grants into
Yeah.
actual money that we have on hand? So, you know, we
can't, what you
talked.
gotta do is, like, you gotta do for that is plan for the money, but then if the grant money does come in, then that funding goes away and we use the grant money.
Right.
Or if
And-
we've
and-
already spent it, that grant money becomes, and fills the spot that we use that money from.
Yeah. All right, let's,
Thank you. I appreciate
But you gotta
No
watch too
problem.
somehow, how some of these grants come in, because some are written so that you use it for the equipment that you buy, and then it's issued, you turn the receipts into,
yeah,
you know, so you gotta look at the requirements of each grant.
okay, let's back up a sec. So, Jim, we did, for mandated,
Okay, yep,
we expanded these instead of 90, 180, 1.5.
Yeah.
We did 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4+,
okay.
all right? Did you have anything else on this?
No, I thought that was good, yeah.
Okay.
So, Rich, now that we've got this in front of us, let's.
Oh, you want, yeah, let's do Dawn's.
Let's make sure
Okay.
Dawn's inputs are,
Mine's opposite, 5 to 0 instead of 0 to 5, so it's just
Yep,
okay.
so
That's the first
5
one.
pretty much matches, right?
under,
I mean,
court order.
it's
To
like,
take,
we
I'm
need to
sorry.
do it now.
I have a spell typo there.
Yeah.
Take action, sorry about that. And then the next one was necessary to meet state and federal requirements. Not necessarily a mandate
Okay,
or a legal obligation, but we should be needing
Right,
state and federal requirements, even though there's no mandate. So yours have a mandate requirement on all of them? But I think that sometimes there are projects that we
Project due
need to
date.
do in order to meet the requirements without there being a mandate.
Yeah, and that
Sure,
would be your
okay.
project due dates.
okay. So how, number 3, like, how would we even know?
Well, the departments should know.
Okay, well, then they gotta
There's
tell
Usually-
us.
Usually like
They'd have to-
bulletins, or, stuff that comes out.
But they've gotta tell us then on those sheets.
Yeah,
Cause we
course.
aren't gonna know. So you might have to put another, like number 12 on
Uh-huh,
there.
uh-huh.
Is there, I don't know how you'd word it,
Well,
but you
I
gotta
mean-
I
word
think
it
that
so
goes in the
that we.
description, like, they need to know to,
So what also could happen is that as the rating sheet becomes established, okay, and departments look to see how they could potentially be rated, they're going to know how to, essentially write their request, right? Because they want to make sure that they are within a certain category to get rated higher. So if there's, legislation down that they heard about at some conference that is going to impact their department, I think they should say it in their request, because they're going to see that, well, last year, geez, this is what the rating, this is how they rate the projects. Let me see. Well, yeah, there's a legislation.
Okay, so this is
coming
an interesting thing. Instead of us doing this sheet, why wouldn't the departments each give us a version of this sheet?
because they're going to prioritize everything.
Right.
So I think it's up to us.
Okay,
To
I
take a
mean,
look
we
at
can.
To set the
obviously-
standards.
We can
Third
Yeah,
party.
they have
review.
their own,
Yeah.
in their back of
Okay.
their, this is what I need right now, and this is what I'm gonna go for
Yeah,
right now.
they need,
But that, after you go through the interview process that you just did, it changes the forethought of, can we get away with doing this later on or not?
Yeah, yeah,
and I mean,
Okay.
I'm sure departments come to the board of selectmen all the time saying, we need these because they're required, like Adam came here and he said straight out, these are gonna be out of date.
yeah.
We know they're gonna be out of date in 10 years, we need to make sure to plan for it. So the departments are on top of that stuff.
Mhm.
They're gonna know what's going on in their departments.
Okay,
So it's up to them to tell us.
okay, so, number 2, there is no legal or court order or other requirement. And number 1, project requires, what does number 1 mean? Or 0, I guess. And how?
So it's a little bit different of approach. So what I think that they were trying to talk about is that, instead of a mandate, there has to be a change in the actual law, in order to, and to proceed into certain aspect of that, capital plan. So if there's if a capital plan, required, that there's a different piece of legislation, whether it be state or federal, in order for it to proceed, you need legislative action, you would address it accordingly.
Okay,
For my, I think maybe for the city,
Yeah,
it
right,
made a little
right,
more
right.
sense.
Right.
To me, it's basically, no, there's no mandate.
Right,
So we
right.
don't need to.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could keep it simpler,
I-
there's a lot of more complexities,
Yeah.
in the city, when they deal with a little bit more of a projects more often.
I think,
I just think the way that you have it here for the mandated, that 90% of our projects are gonna be 0. They're gonna get a weight of 0.
well, and they were, except the sewer.
Right.
And turnout gear. I gave turnout gear a 5 out of 10. Well, how
I
about,
use the reverse.
I'm not completely understanding one and zero,
Okay.
but maybe we can combine
That's
one
what
and
we
zero,
So
Yeah.
that
state
first.
slash
Is it 1 and 5
federal,
or 5 to 1?
and then zero should be no mandate. I mean, there's absolutely,
Two,
so you can say
Fine,
that,
being with this, 0, no.
so on my
Hold on.
scale,
Jeremy's
two is
F600.
no mandate. So on my scale, the 2 is no mandate.
oh, see, I think I would make that zero, because this has so much weight. So Jeremy's trucks,
Mhm.
right? There's absolutely no mandate,
Okay.
so I don't think those should get any kind of,
Okay.
Wait.
bump.
Okay,
Right.
so what if we did, so that 2 be a 0, scratch out 1 and 0.
So number 2 is a zero.
And number 3 could be 1,
Legislation is under discussion?
yep, that would require the project in the future.
Okay,
And then we could combine into 2, 3, and 4 your timeframes of legal obligation.
okay,
I still
Yeah.
think that we should have project as necessary to meet existing state and federal requirements.
yeah.
So maybe that's a 2,
Hmm,
and then
project is
3
necessary.
could be,
I could keep that as a 4. Keep 4 as 4? Because you're saying, because if
You do
if,
get these types of mandates and legal obligations to comply with.
and 4 could turn into a 5 if we,
Yes.
if we don't do anything about it.
right, but
So I would
but we
keep
could
it.
put the current, department's currently under court order
Yep,
as a 5. 4 could be, there's a mandate or legal obligation within 3 years.
oh, okay, so 4 would be a 3-year?
3 would be the 5 years. 2 would be necessary to meet existing, or we could play with that. I mean, we could have the project is necessary before the 5 years.
Okay.
For the 5-year mandate. How much do we want to wait a 5-year mandate versus project is necessary to meet state and federal requirements? Do we want to put that as a 4? And then the mandate is over 3 year, or 3 years or under as a 3? You know what I'm saying? Am I
Hmm.
saying that right at all?
Yeah, I'd almost have to see it done up.
So if we do 5 as immediate mandate,
Yep,
4 would be project necessary to meet existing. 3 would be mandate within 3 years.
okay,
2 would be 5+ years, or
5+.
actually, it'd be over 3 years.
Yeah.
over 3, okay.
Yep.
1 would be legislation under discussion that would require it in the future.
Okay,
And then 0 would be no legal or court
okay.
order.
Yes.
Mhm.
Does that make sense to everyone?
It
I
does.
think so, yeah.
Okay.
And I think that was key, that what we want to do is combine these two together,
Mhm.
which is, you did a good job, I think, Dawn, on that. Just a quick
5.
note to Dan and I had just a very minor side discussion here. This is, you want the weightings to be, you want the weightings to go from no impact to high impact, or from no mandate to high mandate. You want them to go, the highest number is the highest impact or mandate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't think of a 1, this is a scoring system, not a priority. So
Yeah,
So a
on
higher
Dan's-
score would mean a
Yeah.
higher priority.
Right,
Yep.
Dan's priorities,
See, what I had here listed on this green sheet is the number 1 was the priority.
right,
Number 5 was not.
right.
We need to reverse that, 5 being the
Yeah.
priority, 1
Yeah.
being not.
Yeah,
Well, you could also have a column for score and then a column for priority.
Right. So there's scoring and there's priority, so.
oh, I see what you, yeah, priority
a
can
high-
be number
a-
one.
A number one priority.
I need it now.
Or A1, depending on.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right, right,
that's
right.
fine.
Would have a high score.
Score,
Okay,
correct.
so I just
Yep,
wanna make sure we're all
absolutely.
talking
Yeah.
the same way about
So you
that.
have an extra column for that, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so I think we're good on that.
Did you
Project,
get a chance to capture all that, Dawn? 'Cause
yep, she's got it.
if you, when you make those amendments, if you'll send them to me, I'll include them
Okay.
in the minutes, cause I didn't get a
So
chance to
I
capture all
sent,
that.
I think I sent this out as a
You
Word
did.
doc.
Yeah.
You did.
So if
Oh, is
you
it a Word
want,
doc?
yeah.
Okay.
Do you wanna take it and modify it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Can do. I put it, or I can put it back on here. I put it with your, this is all from
Oh.
your,
yep, you can do
Spreadsheet?
that. Actually, we want it on there eventually.
so I kind of put it so that we could see
Okay,
with each.
Yep. because this is what
Category.
we're gonna reference, right?
Exactly.
You flip to the categories tab, right? And
Yep.
then you look at the 0 to 5 and say, okay, it's a
Yep.
4.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I took it off of.
yes, very good.
All right,
So yeah, I can send that out to everybody
Okay.
cool.
and make those changes.
All right, project funding / fiscal impact, and I'll just say right now, on mine, 2 and 3 need to be, I was doing this last night, so, 2 and 3 need to be switched. No negative, no impact negatively affects some, actually, I thought about number 1 is in the wrong spot, but it would be then minimal sum grant funding and time sensitive or already allocated. But anyway, so what do people think? All right, we'll
So I
go to
did-
Dawn.
I did a little less subjectively and more concrete
Yeah.
as far as what does some and minimal. I did this up before I got yours, but, so 5, oh, we can go 0, I'm sorry. 0, where you had no impact, I did more than 75% of town funding, and it
Okay.
increases operational costs. So it's going to be mostly, funded through,
Raise and appropriate.
raise and appropriate, yeah.
Okay,
And the operational costs, whatever this project is going to increase.
what does that mean?
Um,
Like, give an
if-
example, I guess.
if we took on that chlorination project, or was it chlorination,
Yeah.
the project at the wastewater treatment plant, it would increase their operational cost $40,000 a year. So
Oh, I see what you're saying,
So the
okay.
cost of the project, say the cost of the project was, $200,000. And to maintain that project, it's also going to increase their annual budget $40,000 a year.
Yeah,
So that would increase your operational costs as well.
Oh.
So it's not saving the town any money, it's actually gonna be more money in the future on top of the initial project cost.
Yeah, the initial was 40,000, and it's 40,000 every year after, because you're gonna be using the same amount of chemicals. Or it could increase because you may be using more, depending on what your output is.
So that's what I was thinking, if the project, not only the cost of the project, but the ongoing maintenance of that project, is there going to be a
Additional
additional?
costing.
Yeah.
Additional cost.
Yeah, and that's the same.
but are
as-
we gonna, like,
We're not gonna fund that additional cost.
No, that should come out of their
But
operational
that needs to be
budget.
taken into consideration.
okay, so this becomes most advantageous to least advantageous.
So the higher the score, yeah.
But the problem is, like, something like the sewer stuff, it's gonna get a 5 under mandate. We have to do it.
That chlorination one, I thought we took off the table, though, that's an operational.
But remember,
No, that was
remember
the
the-
copper.
the categories get weighted.
Yeah, no, yeah,
So while the funding aspect of the wastewater treatment project
it's disadvantageous.
is disadvantageous,
Yeah.
the mandate nature of it overwhelms
Okay.
these
Well,
other attributes,
Yeah,
these
okay,
other
all right,
categories.
okay,
And so it still gets the attention it needs.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
It's to help, remember what we're doing here. We're trying to be able to objectively say you've got 2 important projects. One is mandated, same cost, 2 department heads here, same cost, but this one's mandated, this one's not affecting the funding, this one's negatively affecting the funding, but it's mandated. We can't, we'd love to give you, you know, because it's, we really want that, but it's mandated.
Yeah,
And so that way we can say, this is how we had to decide, you know, we're gonna have to push yours off another year or something like that.
okay.
So, if, just a quick, yeah, I, again, like you said, Rich, the subjectivity to the wording you used, I like Dawn's, clarifying a little bit more, but I liked your use of, for example, your number 5, a time-sensitive grant is available, or funds are already allocated.
Like if we're on the last sort of payment of a 5-year
Yeah.
plan, right?
So that would be taken into consideration with that, yeah.
Mhm.
So I guess 5 would be less than 25% funding then, right? I mean, that would be her,
Would be
Category 5.
75, right?
It'd be less than 25% if we
Oh, less than
pre-funded it.
25, yeah.
But just, so to, what are we gonna put for verbiage to it?
How about-
You could adjust your, y- you've got 3 less thans, 5, 4, and 3, 25, 50, and 75.
Mm-hmm,
You could collapse those a little bit and make 5 like Rich's, funding available, or
less than
grant,
10%,
yeah,
or,
something, yeah. Or
I
just
don't-
put a slash, less than
Yeah.
25% slash,
funds available?
funds of it, funding,
fully funded,
funding available.
Yeah, yeah, fully funded, yeah,
or funding available, yeah.
funding available.
And I
Or,
can
you
change
know-
that to 10% if we wanna put more
Yeah.
weight on,
I think making that a really low number,
Okay.
this is like, this is here, we've got it.
Yeah.
You know, if it's less than 10%, that, I'm fine with that, and
okay,
then adjust your other ones maybe.
what are you thinking?
I don't know if I'm 2/3, 1/3. I don't particularly care.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, that makes sense if we have a 4-year project or
Yeah.
3-year, yep, all right, 33,
It's
and
67.
67. And then keep 67 across the board.
No, you can keep the others at 75.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so 2, 1, and 0 at 75,
Yeah,
okay.
And when we get to actually scoring things out, if something's 70, if something's, 58, we can just kind of fit it in where it fits.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Don't be beholden to the exact number.
okay.
Okay. So, critical needs / risk.
Yeah, I don't really like my critical needs risk one.
I kinda liked it.
Okay, okay.
I don't know if
Okay.
there's a way that we could fit in there, like additional insurance premiums would be, additional premiums and insurance the town could be facing if it's not addressed. What's a way to put that in there? And what I mean by that, I'll give an example, is that, currently the police station, town hall, is not on the list for, it's on the list for general liability, but a reassessment of the building has not been done yet, by insurance. I mean, that within itself could potentially be a budget buster for insuring of the building. I wasn't sure if there was a, you know, obviously a capital project would be, you know, if you've got a new building, you know, you know, there's a risk, a savings there. You'd be, you know, new insurance, you wouldn't have to have it, worried about additional risk there.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we could probably put something in 5 and 4
Mm-hmm.
about insurance premium,
Mhm. So I kinda like my 4 and 5.
okay.
At the end, I added the age. I was thinking, because age is a risk or a need. Because I was thinking of like Adam's stuff and Jeremy's stuff,
Yeah.
right? If something like that turnout gear ends up past, if it's now 12 years, like that's a high-risk item
Yeah.
Mhm.
for insurance,
Yeah.
for safety,
Yeah.
right? But then again, yours is like if service is currently interrupted, right? If something broke and is stopped. So I don't know if we can maybe combine the two
Yeah.
5s somehow and maybe even the 2 4s.
Okay.
Well, the 2 4s are kind of very similar, right? And actually, the 2 3s, I mean, they're just worded differently, right?
Right.
Dawn has much more professional wording.
No, I, again, and,
2s,
Yeah, I think that.
actually, our 2s are different.
Okay, what's your two, commuter for?
Your 2 and 3 are similar to maybe my 3, but then 2,
Yeah,
although my 2 and 1 could be combined.
I took into consideration, you know, what's the project gonna cost in the future? You know, what's the beyond inflation?
Yeah, that's what I kind of was getting at with, could be an issue in the future, you
Yeah.
know, if we don't address it. So maybe if you combined the 2 5s,
Okay. Um,
and maybe on 4, if you added something about, you know, aging or something, right? Well,
What if I did service
Yeah.
/ safety is currently interrupted? On number 5, current service / safety.
well, I don't know, service. Or, yeah, I mean, yeah, you could do that, I guess, right?
Does that make sense to everybody?
So,
Or anybody have any other suggestions?
or you could just at the end of 5 say, like I did, health / safety, immediate health and safety issues or something like that.
which one we rewrote?
5.
We're doing, we're still on 5? Okay.
Yeah.
And then I think we need to put in about insurance premiums. But we have to rate that as far as, you know, insurance premiums will increase 2 times, 1.5 times. What's a
We tried to-
significant increase?
We tried to squeeze insurance into 5?
But how are we gonna even?
No, I don't think, I think we're trying to do too much there. What do you currently have for 5?
With my,
So, with the
With
edits.
with my edits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I put, same first sentence, service is currently interrupted and the project will restore service in the most cost-effective manner possible. Immediate health, safety issues. Kind of like a colon, immediate health, safety issues.
Could you just say large impact to, these are all ors too, or large impact to insurance costs. So having
Yeah, that
a
works.
failing stairway,
No, sure.
right?
Yeah.
We don't know the number, but we can pretty much
Yeah,
assure.
right.
That would be a safety issue too.
That would be,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
I mean, that would be an
But
immediate
these are
safety, but-
ors, so
Right.
it can be either or.
Yeah,
And if it's not a
Mhm.
safety, maybe it's just an insurance.
Gives the group a little bit broader of a,
yeah.
Mhm.
But how do we want to like define that change in insurance premium? Like, and Jim, really, you would be the only one to
yeah, I mean,
answer.
you could say
that.
significant,
I
you
would-
know,
yeah.
say a significant.
I hate,
Well,
it's
well,
arbitrary
wants it
words.
quantified.
I mean,
I
you know,
do.
I mean, I think, you know, an insurance, you know, if there's like, you know, a $20,000 jump in premium, I would think that would be significant. If it's a, you know, a $300 jump in premium, I don't consider that,
About greater than 15%,
wow. what-
parentheses.
But
greater
what's
than
15% of what?
15%, yeah, that's what he's saying.
Of the initial, of what the premium is now.
300
Well-
could be 15% of something, but then 20,000 could be 15% of something, so that's,
Well, it's percent of your current premium.
I know, but that's the thing, is the impact of $300 is
Yeah.
nothing versus the
Mhm.
impact of 20,000.
Well, I mean, I guess we could, you know, rely on, you know, our insurance provider to say, you know, if there's gonna, you know, what are the potential impact would be and get an estimate from them.
Why don't we just leave insurance out of this for now? Just, we're just,
Hmm. Okay.
I understand and I agree that, but it's kind of a,
It clouds the water.
we're trying to identify something that, if something is, if something's creating a health or safety issue,
We
it's
already
it's an
know.
inherent aspect that this is likely gonna affect our insurance premiums, because we're, right?
Okay.
And so I think we all know that, and any department head who's
Mm.
considering things is gonna realize that. Certainly the town administrator is gonna be acutely aware of it. And so I think in trying to.
But I think it also, it's important for departments to understand that too, because, and that's where I'm coming from, is because departments come in and say, well, I want a 650, or I want a fire truck.
Okay,
And there's no calculation of insurance and
Premiums
premiums
skyrocketing.
in any of these discussions.
That's-
Oh, wait, okay, but now, so that's different, that's fiscal impact.
That's like
then.
a-
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just one aspect of it, but I'm looking at it from another aspect of it as, you know, some of these things are not gonna become uninsurable, like a building.
Wow,
So there's two impacts there.
yeah.
Then-
I don't know if, okay, so here's the question. Would the impact on insurance, whether the insurance costs go up, down, or would that necessarily dictate how we look at a project?
That's a good point. It comes with the whole issue. Right.
So if it does, then I think it needs to be included in here. If it's
Well,
not.
are we not gonna
it's
do
not-
the project because the insurance is gonna go up 30%?
Well,
Right.
here's another example, so, yeah, and I'm not picking on the highway, but, you know, the highway, one of their vehicles, they were gonna use it for another department. Okay, so we're gonna have to keep insuring that vehicle. So the vehicle that they're giving off to emergency management is still gonna have to be insured, still gonna have to be maintained.
Right.
So there's gonna be a cost associated with that,
Right.
on top of the initial investment of, you know, the 65,000 for the truck.
And I think that's where we take a look at the project funding and it increases operational costs.
Yeah,
Mm.
You know, so automatically it increases your operational costs.
right.
You
Because
know?
the alternative is to, instead of reusing the truck, is buy a new truck for that position then. So now we're into 2 trucks.
Yeah, but either way, you're gonna end up with the same situation of.
You're
more
still
money
gonna
in
increase
insurance.
costs, yeah.
But is there a need, you have to look at now, just because they said that they're gonna give the emergency management person a a truck, is there a need for that? I don't know.
Let me-
I'm going off of what, Jeremy said, there's a need for it.
Let me make a suggestion. On this spreadsheet or form,
Yeah.
these ratings are our scoring.
Yeah.
They're not for department heads
Mm-hmm.
to score it out. We're the ones who score them.
Right.
They can give us a priority and a wish list.
Mm-hmm.
They can rate them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however they want to do them, A, B, C, D. But they should see this column. And so my suggestion is under project funding / fiscal impact,
Mhm.
And
Next-
include the line for insurance.
next box in, first question that's being asked, will the project bring in additional revenue, or will it cost additional money to operate /
Insure.
maintain / insure?
Mhm.
That gets that insurance aspect in there,
Yeah.
that many of us are gonna conveniently forget about or not consider.
Yeah,
And that's what the department heads, they need to take those questions seriously and think, let it be a prompt that actually is, oh, yeah,
That's how they're gonna weigh them.
that's how they're
so,
gonna, yeah.
so these should be part of the form. These should be provided to
Eventually.
them.
So probably.
Yeah, we'll get-
Eventually,
we'll
yeah,
get there.
yeah,
Okay.
We'll get there, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But for
I
us to
agree.
capture that and then get it out of our scoring, because I think it's making it too cumbersome for me at least.
It's critical to get the scoring done.
It is, yeah.
So then departments can look to see, well, they can plan how they're going to, try to get their projects
Yeah.
off the ground.
So I agree with
You
you,
agree with
I
that?
like
Okay.
that suggestion.
Okay.
So moving
Do you
back
agree,
to, we were on critical,
Yeah,
critical needs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so number 5, we changed the same sentence and then do immediate health safety issues.
yeah, we just added to
Added that in there,
Mhm.
okay. And
Okay. All right, and then 4, services likely to be disrupted in a 5-year horizon. Or disrupted within 5 years. I don't like within 5-year horizon. And you said you wanted to add some of your 4 in there, Rich?
well, no, I think you've got it.
Okay.
Unless you want to do something about age, but if it's
I think that
If
will be
it's-
captured.
old, then it's likely to be a disruption. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's probably good.
Okay. I liked 3 because like when we put the police on a schedule, like 1 vehicle every year, I think that captures it right there. To keep it,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
maintain.
Yeah,
yeah,
maintain.
that's
service.
better than
Okay,
issue in the future getting old, yeah. Yeah, I like 3, I agree with that, you like that? Yeah. 2,
Yeah, I think that's all we're gonna look at.
yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
I think just 5 then, right? That's pretty much just a little bit on 5 and,
I thought everything else was good.
okay,
Okay.
all right. Service to the public?
okay.
Fives are the same.
Or maintenance, should that say need?
Where's that? Number 5.
Maintenance needed?
Oh.
Maintenance needed, or
No,
just
will it,
need?
No,
will it
need.
address?
Just need, okay.
Yeah, public health need, safety need,
Okay, all right.
accreditation, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, frankly,
think-
I'm fine with yours.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah,
So that, I mean, my 2 is your 4. So do you agree with the order? Because my 2 is would address deficiencies or problems with existing services, and you have 4 is would address deficiencies. I had it would improve service.
Well, I mean, if we have deficiencies, it would be good to deal with them.
Yeah.
Or if we, that's why I put public complaints too. If we're hearing stuff,
Mhm,
you
mhm.
know, that sweeper, like, they went up my street and like there's still dirt all over the place, right?
Mhm. Or dump dirt, yeah.
I think
Dump
that would-
dirt
It
or
made it
something.
dirtier.
Yeah,
I-
yeah.
It moved the dirt.
Yeah, from my neighbor's
Yeah.
place to my place, so,
I
Yeah.
think that would kind of fall in deficiency, though.
under which?
Deficiencies. Like just the word deficiencies.
Right, yeah.
I-
Yeah, but is
Yeah.
it, do you wanna move it higher up,
Yeah, that's what I'm,
If your 2 and 4 got flipped, is
my
that what you're
2 and
saying?
4.
or 2 and 3 maybe?
I mean, I could always just throw it in 2 and then bring the rest down.
Yeah, maybe 2 and 4, right?
So do you want me to just bring 2 above 4?
Mhm.
Because I don't want to
Yeah.
flip-flop them. Because I think that
Oh, I
4
see
goes
what you're
above
s-
3 still, so just bring 2 up.
Okay, I see what you're saying. But I would say establish new service.
Yeah, that doesn't.
I'm not sure, that could be on the 3 or 4 as they stand now. Would
New
improve
ser-
service and address a public health or safety need. Would improve service to meet current desired goals. Maybe
Or
on your
add it.
existing number 3.
Would establish new service?
Yeah,
Okay. I agree with that.
so we go 5, 2, 4, 3, 1, 0, and then number
The rest
3
looked good.
is new service. Okay,
Mhm.
all right, so
You agree, Ray?
you good with?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, it'll help to see this once it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I'll just say this now, once you redo this,
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong, send it out.
yeah.
We can't have any discussion.
Right.
But we
But
can,
you'll at least
you
have
can
it.
certainly send it out and we can
Right.
think
Yeah.
about it.
Right,
Okay.
And
right.
make our edits and come
Right.
back, right?
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
Don't wanna violate anything, you know.
All right.
Oh, so you kinda took, the Springfield one was really, cause Springfield's so big, I just
Yeah.
looked at it, I'm like, oh
So
my God.
I
this-
do have a suggestion for this one.
Yeah,
Just in the order, I think all the categories are fine. And I think, the regional benefit is more geared towards a larger city. I don't think that we would ever bring anything regionally as a leader.
I was,
Well,
I was thinking like the regional dog pound that we had going at one time, or possibly regional
I mean, it-
municipal, or, go ahead.
I was gonna say, at one time, we talked about a casino.
Right, I mean, that would be huge for the region, huge.
That's a
for-
regional-
That's
yeah.
a regional
Yeah.
thing.
So the chances of getting a 5 are pretty low.
Very low, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe you wanna move up the town improvement benefits larger, and then just put the regional,
Oh my goodness, I was-
significant regional thing, maybe a little lower.
Or combine 4 and 5,
Yeah.
just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah, significant regional benefit or townwide improvement.
Mm,
Then what would you put for 4?
No, I think
Um,
they're separate. I would keep them separate, but I don't mind moving it down.
Yeah, I would agree with
We could
Dawn.
maybe put significant townwide improvement,
Okay,
Yeah,
so this would basically, 4 would be 5.
and then, so do we want to rank a regional benefit above any of the town? Or does it
But see,
go
the
below
thing
all the
is-
town?
Okay, let's say we put a casino in on the west end of town, right? I mean, we would draw people from all over. They would go to businesses in town.
Okay.
Businesses might spring up. I mean, it's a pretty big deal, although it's,
uh-huh.
That's what I was thinking too, I mean,
So I
it
wouldn't-
benefits more people, that's why I put it at the top.
yeah.
Doesn't mean that every project's gonna hit it, and if every
But
project's
this
a 4,
is,
then.
yeah, but this would be just related to capital improvement, right? So this would be just
Yeah,
like,
that's true, it's, yeah.
this would be just for like, you know, if we're gonna put a water line in, or a sewer line in, or something like to that nature. It's not,
No, I
Yeah.
know, yeah, yeah. Mm.
All right, so,
or repave a road, or, I mean, you know,
Okay, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, what capital improvement could we do that would
significant,
Significant, you know, affect like-
the region.
bury and,
well, the
Right.
mill project could affect the region. Like,
but it would never be a capital planning thing, because it's a privately
Owned
owned.
building, yeah. I mean, if we were gonna do like if you were gonna do South Street, you know, repave South Street, then maybe you could, you know,
Yeah.
get something like that, or put a water line, a new water line down there, or sewer
parks, I mean,
line.
when the parks come and, I mean, I don't know if they'd have a regional benefit to the parks, draw attention. I don't know.
I still think 4 and 5, either we get a big bang out of it for the town, or the region, and therefore the town gets a big bang, maybe, right? Would that? But then we have an empty slot, so
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, like I said, I was just thinking biggest picture to smallest picture, that's how I rated it,
Mhm.
so,
I just don't know, I mean, it would be nice to get
But then nobody gets a 5.
a regional project, you know?
we just
but-
don't rate anything a 5.
Yeah,
I mean,
So what?
so we just don't rate anything a 5, you know? But to have it there if we do have a project, I
mm-hmm, yeah, I guess you could do that.
mean, it might be
Okay.
pie in the sky, but,
Yeah, but if you don't have it there, then why reach for it? I would leave that there,
you
Yeah.
can leave it there too.
yeah.
Okay.
And I'll
so you-
put significant townwide improvement as well. I'll
Okay.
change that to significant.
Okay, so we're basically gonna keep this for now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Did you wanna incorporate any of you or?
Yeah, is there anything that Rich captured that this doesn't?
I mean, we could
Well,
combine
so-
It's fine,
four
but
with your
townwide
4.
improvement are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, again, economic growth, so something that leads, a project that leads to more money coming in is good. So,
So do we wanna combine townwide improvement, semicolon,
Economic
and then
growth.
number 4,
lead to other grants or funding opportunities, well, other
Sure.
grant, yeah.
yeah. Trying to think like, you know, we did the HMP MVP, right? That will lead to action grants.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna fix culverts, right? So that's a
Mhm.
huge thing. So if there's some sort of, I don't know what that looks like from capital planning though. If we,
Well, I mean, if there's, I suppose if there's a neighborhood development, you know, or streets in the section, it could bring in more.
More housing.
More housing, yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
More people to town.
so running a sewer up
Oh, sure.
South
Yeah.
Street,
Sure.
or water up to
Yeah.
Reed
Reed
Street.
Street, yeah. Could
Something
be
like that.
economic development, sure,
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, even though
but then that could be significant, well, or benefits a large portion of town,
that would only benefit one neighborhood, you know, something
one
like that,
neighborhood, yeah.
you know.
I don't know, maybe yours are, I don't know, maybe yours are fine, because yours encompass, mine are a little more specific.
On your number 1, Don,
Mm-hmm.
I love that, but I don't know if I want to add that. Can you just say
Blight.
It's just because it's also very, it's kind of specific.
Assists in the elimination of blight.
Yeah, that's,
Or improves.
because it could, how about just, because you basically did a geographic breakdown,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And so maybe just say, instead, just leave it a generic, some benefit or minimal benefit to the town. I don't think we have to identify exactly how it benefits the town. It's a specific act, which
Yeah, I see
again,
what you're
I'm
saying.
totally behind, and would love to see that.
Yeah.
But would that be captured with the minimal impact to town?
No, it's a purposely generic, it cleans up the,
Yeah,
on the top of the hill here.
Yeah, blight, I think you gotta
It
be
is, but-
blunt about it, and I think, you know, I think developers are blunt when they come to town and they
Yeah.
see a house that's either boarded up, they see a house that's, you know, charred, or, you know, a house that's, you know, falling apart. They don't wanna invest in those communities.
Yeah.
And so if you have a project that can clean up the blight,
And slum and blight is specifically named in the community block grant.
Oh, okay.
That is one of the
Oh, okay,
activities.
all right.
Very
Like I
It
said,
wasn't
I'm all for it, I'm all for it, I
derogatory,
was
yeah.
just trying to think how to,
And
if
I
you
can
didn't
just
wanna
put it
use the
blight.
word slum, you could just use blight.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah, maybe do that,
Just
just do
blight? Okay.
blight.
Okay.
okay.
Cause slum does have, you think of like a slum area, blocks and blocks
Yeah.
of like, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Nowadays,
Yeah.
you
But yeah,
Wall
it's-
Street.
Okay.
Please.
All right. So are we good with that? It's getting late too, so.
Okay, yeah, I can make those changes, absolutely. Do we
Okay.
wanna change anything else on that portion of it? It looked good to me when I looked.
Well, has anybody gone through this part of it?
I was going through. this.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay, all right.
I think,
Well, so let's do this. When Dawn sends this out, go through the whole thing over again,
okay,
Okay,
right? Because she'll add the couple edits.
yep,
She'll have new 0 to 5 categories, and then let's see where we land with that.
do we want to, take the time and rate each project, each of us rate each project as well, so we can kinda get moving on the projects? Or do we wanna wait to hear from wastewater treatment plant next week and then rate all of them? With the new rating, like, not now, I'm talking like during the next week, before our next
No,
meeting.
we can start. I mean, if you want to start, well, how, are we going to do it all individually and then try and come to a consensus?
Well, I think that we probably should have our own.
Okay. Yeah, I would say
Okay.
start, once you send that out,
Mhm.
because it should be pretty much done.
Mhm.
Then go ahead and start, we can do highway, fire, and police. And you could put, I mean, I went ahead and did wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
And you
I would,
could,
yeah, because that's pretty much speaking for itself.
Do you
Did
want
we-
them in next week, wastewater treatment plant people?
I didn't think we had any questions, so I don't
Oh,
know.
I haven't,
Okay,
I thought I saw that we were gonna have them in 2 weeks.
I thought so too.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're supposed to have
I thought-
Ralph next week, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
do we put that?
it was in the minutes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Determine the board should meet with the wastewater treatment 2 weeks for further inputs and clarification.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do that then.
So next week we'll have wastewater treatment plant in.
Yeah,
And when do you wanna meet next week?
Tuesday is when I can meet.
I do have one other question before we set, I was going through them, and I don't know if it's for now or later, but, we had put the police project on hold for the, computers, because, Jimmy, you indicated that it was included in the selectmen's one.
Yep.
But when I went through the detail for the selectmen's one, there's no police computers on that. So I just wanted clarification whether to bring it back or not, because
I
this
think
was
it
the
was-
list of computers,
Yeah, that's the priority list of computers here.
and that, yeah. and-
I can have them run a list for the hardware too, on that, okay. Let me look on that, let me see, we were gonna start with these ones, but these ones right here would be,
For that cost.
yeah.
So the police is not included in
Not
this
included in
project?
that one, not yet. No.
Okay,
No, I can do that for the next round if you wanna do that, or
well, I just didn't know whether, I'll take a look at the
request from the police.
request from the police
Okay.
again to see what their
Yep,
urgency is.
yep, okay.
All right,
Yeah, I think they'll leave us with tasers and the Glocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they also had a computer one,
Yeah.
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 Okay, so, next week,
So, okay, so Ralph is in, we're all set with Sharon pretty much on her requests. We don't need her or,
It's, you know, it's up to the board. I mean, I thought it was pretty straightforward, but
okay. So 4 o'clock on the 9th?
I might be a little bit late, I have an appointment at 3.
Okay.
you wanna make it later, or?
I mean, I can just, you guys can start if you want without me. Oh, no, you can't vote on anything because we don't have
Right.
a quorum. I mean, I should be back. It should be a super quick appointment. I should be back by 4,
Okay.
but just to let you know, I might be a few minutes late.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
okay with, okay.
You want to do 4:15 just to make sure, or keep it at 4?
If you guys don't mind me,
Make
just
it-
being a couple minutes late, if I have to be late.
Okay, let's just keep it at 4. That's fine.
Hopefully I'm here.
So I'll have Ralph in next week at, for 4 o'clock. That'll be on
Mhm.
Tuesday, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, okay.
All right,
Okay,
motion to adjourn. Is there anybody?
So moved.
Second?
Second,
All in favor?
Ray Capaco, aye.
Richi Hacker, aye.
Dawn Swistack, aye.
Okay.
We are adjourned.
What time we calling that?
6:20.
All right.